The pattern of funding is very similar to how Hamas and Hezbollah operate, especially via NGOs and charitable funds by diaspora communities. So the larger question, as you've rightly put it across, is whether a mere acknowledgement by Canada is enough, or is it time to nip terror in the bud by completely dismantling the financial nexus? All right, viewers, fresh news coming in. US President Donald Trump has stated that the United States is still working on security guarantees for Ukraine that will help bring an end to the country's conflict with Russia. This comes after 26 nations pledged to provide post-war security guarantees to Ukraine, including an international force on land, sea and in the air, as announced by French President Emmanuel Macron, following a summit of Kiev's allies. Now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed that thousands of troops could be deployed to Ukraine under these guarantees. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned that Moscow would consider such forces as legitimate targets for attack. The comments, of course, take place as the divide between Kiev and Moscow continues to escalate as Europe remains pessimistic over prospects for ending Russia's war. Meanwhile, Trump has voiced growing frustration, stating that Russia has been lost to China. Let's take a closer look at what he has had to say.
Well, we'll work that out. We'll help them. Look, we want to save a lot of lives, so we'll do something with that. I think people expect that. We'll help them. Europe will be first in by far, and they want to be first, and they want to see it end. Europe wants to see it end, and it'll end. It'll end all of a sudden. It's going to come together. You watch.
Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Matty Zweig, geopolitical expert. We've heard what Trump has had to say as well. Europe, of course, being very cautious at the moment. They just had a very important summit in Denmark where the leaders had gathered to deliberate upon the security guarantees. They have stated, unlike Trump, they have not ruled out sending boots on the ground. Russia has responded, stating that they will consider these as legitimate targets as well. How do you think this augurs for Trump's plans for holding a trilateral meeting? Will that catalyze?
Well, I think that this is more of what has been going on, and I've been saying in all the last days, in all interviews. Putin is not going from his free will to sit with Zelensky in a neutral place and to say, let's do peace and let's make a schedule of a ceasefire and then a peace agreement. This is very clear because he has been gaining territory more and more, especially in the eastern Ukraine, in the last 10 months. So this is not going to change until he really feels under pressure. And the under pressure he should feel is from Trump. And Trump is every time delaying. He say, it cannot be that you are not going to sign a ceasefire. And then he say, okay, in another 2 weeks, I will see what they do. And then he say, in another month, I see what they do. And then the facts on the ground is there has been more than 6 months of the current administration, and nothing has been changing, really. And the only thing that has been changed is that the Ukraine has much less help from the American side. America is also trying to convince Europe not to be harsher on this theme. And then what is going on is that if Trump is not going to change his policy towards Putin, and Putin is also trying to keep himself as a big leader in the world. You can see also just this week shaking hands in China, showing that we have very powerful friends like China and India, etc. So things are not going to change because he has everything to, to show himself. I mean, Putin, like he's winning more and more, even before he even thinks of sitting and in a common ground to have a future of ceasefire and peace agreement. So again, the key is in Trump changing his policy and saying, well, I understood that Putin is not willing really to go for peace. I will change my point of view. I will help Europe, of course, not helping in putting soldiers of NATO in Ukraine, because this is really something that is not going to happen. Anyway, you have volunteers, like kind of mercenary from both sides, from the Ukrainian side, from the Russian side. The Russians, they have Africans and North Koreans. The Ukrainians, they have thousands of volunteers that come from Europe, North America, South America, and they don't need to put real troops from NATO there if it's not something that is achieved through agreement. So we are in a dead point. If Trump is not going to change his tone towards Putin and with more sanctions, but real sanctions, but there is something that Putin is right. I mean, he said to Europe, you continue to buy a lot of oil and gas from Russia, even that you talk that you don't want any relations with him. I mean, they have decreased the quantities of oil and gas, but they are continuing to take from them in all kinds of ways, especially through Hungary and Slovakia, but not only. And they also paying with them paying to them, I mean, through the international normal channels of payments when they say they are going to stop this. So also Europe has to check themselves what way they will continue to talk when from the other side, they are not really doing what they say with the facts on the ground.
All right, Mr. Zweig, with that, I would like to thank you for taking our time, sharing your perspectives on these very crucial developments. Meanwhile, viewers, more news